So let's become aware of the dangers that create disconnection within our relationship. The metaphor that I used before on being on the boat and having a compass and a map, and you wanting to head out in a specific direction in your relationship towards more love, more respect, more kindness, more openness, more passion, more intimacy, more connection. And then you have another magnet. And this magnet could represent all the things that harm your ability to connect with your partner. They are kind of like poor relationship habits, if you will. And they're pulling the needle of your compass in the opposite direction of where you truly want to go. So let's go through all of them. There are 7 dangers that bring disconnection in a relationship. The most detrimental of all, in my opinion, is the danger of judging. And this can take different forms. It's about being judgmental. It can take the form of criticism, blaming, name calling, belittling, being all judgmental about your partner, about yourself. And it's particularly harmful when it's aimed at the person, right? It could be something like, you are mean, you're lazy, you're an idiot, you are stupid, you are a loser. See? Hearing this is very uncomfortable. It's very painful to the person who receives it. And if you're saying those words, you're also harming yourself in the process. I would argue that being judgmental, not aimed at the person, but aimed at the behavior, is also detrimental to the level of love and connection you're aiming for. It might be okay to some degree to do it, but when you're saying, that was so dumb, I'm like, that was so stupid, that was so mean, that was so bitchy. Maybe it's less impactful, but I would still recommend you try to avoid this kind of this kind of judgment in general. And you might tell me, well, Diane, am I not entitled to have an opinion here? And I'm going to say, yeah, you can absolutely have an opinion about things, but can you do it in a way that's non-judgmental? And if not, that's going to be a challenge in your life. So I will highly, highly encourage you to be more aware of this. And in your workbook, if you would download it in the PDF down below, there's a little question for you here. Write down the thoughts of judgment that you often experience in regards to your partner, to your relationship, or to yourself. It could be that you're the one who's belittling yourself. And how is it helping your relationship? How is it helping your ability and your wish to build connection? Because the chances are, if somebody hears this, whether it's you or your partner, their reaction tends to be defensiveness. The other person needs to protect themselves from the hurtful judgment that's being put onto them. And to defend oneself, the way to do it is to attack, so the level of intensity of the emotion from what you were saying here, now the other person needs to bring it up a notch and create more intensity to defend, protect themselves from your harsh words. And you might want to escalate it one more time, and then there's potentially no end to this. Or the other person, instead of meeting you at your level of intensity, they might ignore you or just leave the conversation altogether, and then there's no more opportunity to connect. You know, if one is there, the other one decided to exit, this is no longer a relationship in that moment. So think about it. And the thing about judgment is that it intensifies how you each feel in that moment. And to resolve conflicts in general, you need to de-escalate the level of intensity of the relationship, or at least of this particular moment you are experiencing. So take a moment to think about when you are being judgmental and when it's not helping your relationship, and try to find a way to stop doing it. And it might be a practice over time, but at least you're being aware of it. You're like, oops, I'm not going to say that anymore. The next danger is the danger of needing to be right. And I remember seeing one day at somebody's house, somebody who really loves to be right in general, who loves to win argument. He's in sales, and in his home there was this sign that said, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So that was his way of reminding himself that wanting to be right is not beneficial to his life. At least not all the time. And the need to be right may come across as wanting to convince the other person that your view, your thoughts, your beliefs, your experience is the real deal, and their beliefs, their thoughts, their experience is not quite right. You're the one who's right, and they're not really. And that creates a lot of disconnection here. So same thing in your workbook. There's a question for you. What are times when you feel you are right and he or she is wrong, and you feel offended or self-righteous? That might give you some clue as to what triggers this moment of self-righteousness, which, by the way, can be super annoying to your partner. And I have done it at times. I am being self-righteous. I am being offended. I let myself be offended. And I know it's not helping my relationships, whether it's with my partner, with my son, or with my friends. So it's something to be aware of and try to bring it down a notch. The next, And if you are this person who pushes and pushes and pushes, do you start to realize when you're pushing a little bit too far and when your partner is starting to check out completely? And I have witnessed this recently into an argument when the lady was doing a lot of pushing. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And he was like, I'm not listening, I'm not listening, I'm not listening. And eventually she was pushing, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. But he turned around and like whoosh, lashed out, and it started a big blown out argument. So, not very helpful. Let's look at the next danger. And it's the danger of having too many expectations. We talked about expectations a little bit earlier. And in some cases, not for all of us, but in some cases, once we get together with our partner, we've been together for a while, we tend to have a lot of closeness, we see each other a lot. Maybe we live in the same house, or we are dating, and we'll be dating and seeing each other more and more and more and more. From this physical closeness tends to be there tends to be an increase in our expectations of our partner. Yeah, it's not for all of us. But if that's your case, you're going to get some insights from doing the exercise in your workbook here. So, look at what do you expect from your loved one, and you will answer the things that you want to see happen from your loved one in terms of things to do, activities, actions, things you expect him or her to say, and things you expect him or her to be. So the question is, and you fill in the blank, I expect my loved one to do, ba, 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 ba. I expect my loved one to say, ba, 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 ba. And I expect my loved one to be, ba, 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 ba. Take a minute here to answer these questions. The next part of the questionnaire is ask yourself, what do we expect my loved one to not do, to not say, to not be? Maybe by doing this exercise using the negative, you will come up with additional expectations that you didn't realize you had. And I want to give you an example that I had with a coaching client recently. And we were talking about her mother-in-law. And she was frustrated with her husband not standing up to his mother. Sounds like a regular scenario. And so we got to talk about this, and I asked her some, powerful questions in the way of life coaching. It was a one-on-one coaching situation, and eventually what she realized is that she had projected this expectation onto her partner, when in fact she was the one who needed to stand up to her mother-in-law and truly express her true self and her voice, and set some limits around the relationship, the family relationships. And she had not realized that before. So sometimes we have expectations for our partner that are really things we could be doing for ourselves. And that's the empowering part about turning your expectation around, looking at it from all angles, and seeing about the true ownership of this expectation. Is that really something that I need to put onto my partner? Or is it something that I can have ownership of and do something about? And that's where true empowerment comes from. So in your workbook, there are more questions for you. Is my partner truly able to meet my expectation? And I'm asking this in terms of the skills, the ability, the natural character traits, the resources, the time, the knowledge, the education. Is your partner able to meet your expectation? If that's an expectation that you should not take ownership of, Is my partner willing to meet this expectation? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe the way you express your expectation is in a way that is maybe judgmental or nagging or labeling or belittling, in a way that blocks the communication, and your partner cannot really hear your request, and they hear a demand as opposed to something that is done out of free will. So that's for that. And the question we talked about before, in what ways am I projecting my expectations onto my loved one? And last, what are the things that I'm expecting my loved one to do that I could do for myself? Okay, I would highly encourage you to take a look at all these expectations you may have for your partner and see if there's one that is really not helping you, or two or three. Drop at least one toxic expectation, one that is detrimental to creating the connection that you need with your partner. Now, for some of you, you have low expectations or zero expectations about your partner. And you might realize that by doing the exercise. And in this case, it's not so much about expectations, but it's about raising the bar. It's about creating some healthy standards for you and the relationship. Do you need to bring it up a notch or a lot to make your relationship healthier, more fulfilling, more loving, more respectful, more empathetic, more kind? All right? And we can all probably learn from this, from raising the bar in our relationships, maybe in some parts of the relationship, maybe not all parts of it. The next danger is the danger of focusing on what's wrong. Aha, what do I mean here? Remember just this one ratio, 5-to-1. 5-to-1 ratio. What does it mean? Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute. The relationship researcher and expert John Gottman discovered this ratio of 5-to-1. His entire job was to analyze and observe couples in different environments. And he was able to learn a lot from happy and healthy couples and unhappy and unfulfilled couples who are heading out towards a separation or a miserable life together. So his ratio means you need 5 good stuff to make up for the 1 bad stuff. Let me explain to you. Is that if you say or do 1 negative thing in your relationship, then you have to make up for it by having at least 5 positive actions, behaviors, words. And that's a lot of work. So what does Gottman mean by, negative stuff? What does this mean, this number 1? He's talking about stuff like criticism, blaming, anger, hurt feelings, hostility, ignoring, defensiveness, disrespect, disdain, withdrawing. So that's what he considers to be the negative stuff. So if you behave in this way, or if you say something that is negative like that, then you have to make up for it. And what are some of the positive stuff you can do? He points out to showing interest, asking open-ended questions, being curious towards your partner, being nice, showing empathy, having fun together, displaying gentleness and a loving touch, caring towards one another, offering support, helping out in times of crisis, showing more intimacy, complicity, passion, making good eye contact. So here we go. Next time you react and the negative stuff comes up, then you might want to think, okay, how am I going to make up for it? Because we are all human and it does happen. But what Gottman witnessed is that the master at relationship, what he calls the masters at relationships, are very good at focusing on the positive. They spend more of their time, more of their energies, more of their words focusing on the goodness of what is, and not so much on the bad stuff. And their behavior is more positive than negative in general. So in your workbook, there's a question for you here. And it is, think about 1 recent negative comment, action, behavior that you made to your partner or that you had with your partner. It could be criticism, nagging, some blaming, rolling your eyes, ignoring him or her. Think about it. What was it? And now, come up with 5 positive comments, actions, words, behaviors of appreciation, you making an effort towards building more intimacy and connection with your partner. To balance out this one comment. So take a moment here to come up with your 5 great ideas. And next danger is the danger of thinking we'll live forever. Huh? I got introduced to this idea from a book from Robin Sharma, who wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. So it's kind of a book about personal development and ancient wisdom, kind of all blended in together, looking at our Western culture and how we sometimes stray away from the reality of life. And one of the realities of life is death. And so it's not really fun, but I think it's really helpful. Sharma introduces this idea of having a deathbed mentality. What he means by that is to imagine yourself being close to dying. You've had a long life, whether it's in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years from now. But imagine this is it. You've done everything. You've had your career, you've had your relationships, you've had your children, or you've had these projects, or whatever it is. And look back at your life and take a moment to focus on what you would like your life story to be like. What do you want the summary to be all about? What do you want people who truly, truly knew you to say about you, or to say about the life choices that you made? And what do you want to tell yourself about the life that you've had? How did you set your priorities? Were your priorities in order? Did you make enough time and did you make any effort to nurture these important relationships in your lives, or to go about or to go after a dream that you've had for years and years? So think about it from this perspective on not having more stuff to do in your life, but looking back, what do you want your life story to have been all about? Okay. The assignment is called 7 days left, no regrets. Imagine that you have 7 days left. You know that you're going to depart this world in 7 days. Think about what you want to say to your loved one, what you want to do with him or her. How do you want to spend these last precious days that you have on earth? What do you want to do for him or her? Take a moment to reflect on this. What is truly meaningful? What is truly essential to life? And your assignment for this week is to do at least one of these things. And you might decide to do all of them. It's up to you. Maybe you really want to go look at the sunset together one last time. Maybe you want to go look at the stars. Maybe you want to have a big family dinner where everybody's together. Or you want to have this one-on-one deep conversation by the fireplace, or in your favorite restaurant, or whatever. The next danger is the danger of some words. Words are very powerful, and they can bring you up, they can inspire you, they can encourage you, they can make you feel joyous when you hear them, or they can bring you down into the muck and make you feel miserable, make you feel uncertain about yourself. And there's certainly a lot to be said about words in general. You might have heard this expression, words become flesh. What it means is that words have the potential to create our reality, to manifest in our lives in a certain way. And I think the wisest people on this planet that have lived and are still living are very aware of being able to choose the right words. And it's not because we have 50,000 thoughts per day in our head up there, that we need to blurt them out. We need to have a filter for what comes out, because the words become our reality, and when the words are out, they take a life of their own and create a feedback loop that goes back into our thinking. And so there was a quote that I thought was quite interesting from the author Paulo Coelho, who wrote The Alchemist, one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book. I've read it many, many times. And he says, all the weapons of distraction that man could invent, the most terrible and the most powerful was the word. Daggers and spears left traces of blood. Arrows could be seen at a distance. Poisons were detected in the end and avoided, but the word managed to destroy without leaving clues. It's pretty doomsday-like, but you may remember from your upbringing or in your relationship with your partner some words that have been said that you've heard that were very hurtful. I remember some from my childhood that I'm not going to even talk about because they were so deeply painful and personal and shameful in many ways, and that was just one word said to me in a moment, of course, of desperation, because the people utter words that are painful and belittling or destructive are usually not coming from a good place. They're potentially reacting to something. They might be in a state of fear, in a state of anger, feeling out of control. And so the happier we become in our lives, the more aware we can be of the words we're going to share with the people around us. So are there some words that you have been struck by? Or words that you tend to repeat a lot in your life? You may not realize it, but if you think about it, are there words that you tend to say or think over and over again? For some people, it might be the word jealous. You know, he is jealous, she is jealous. People are jealous of me because of my success, or this and that, to explain whatever's going on. Other people may use the word suffering, like life is all about suffering. I'm suffering a lot, or she's suffering. It's all about pain and all the distress of so and so. It could also be about a word that I hear a lot is mean. People are mean. She is mean. He is mean. So if you do a little introspection, you might be able to point out some of these words that if you really peel out the layers, you realize that they are actually blocking your ability to connect with yourself and with other people in general. It could also be some expressions. Maybe it's not enough, you know. I don't have enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough education. I don't have enough friends. I don't have enough love. Whatever it is. Or it could be always. You use this word always. Like you get into arguments with your partner or other people and you say, you're always like this, or never, or you never do this. Instead of having a little bit of nuances and being objective, you might use some words that block out communication and sabotage your ability to truly connect and being closer to reality, being closer to facts, and being closer to emotions and needs. It could be also, I can't do this, I can't, I don't have the ability. So think about it, and in your workbook there is a couple questions for you. What are the words that you're going to stop saying or thinking about? Write them down. Make the commitment to reduce or stop using these words, even if they're only in your head. And which are the expressions that you want to let go of? There could be some. And you can reframe some of these limiting words, some of these limiting expressions, and turn them around into empowering, positive ones. For example, if you tend to believe or think and say that people are jealous, jealousy is a big thing in your life, how can you turn it around that you're going to go deeper into what people really need and want? Maybe the opposite of being jealous is being open. Maybe the opposite of jealous is to be grateful. Maybe the opposite of jealous to you is to be happy. Whatever it means to you, turn it around. Another danger is, that's the last one, is feeding your mind toxic food. And I'm actually not talking about food you eat. I'm talking about information, data that gets into your head. And in this day and age, we are bombarded with information, with data. And not all of it is super helpful when it comes to wanting to live intentional, conscious, beautiful, purposeful, meaningful, loving lives and relationships, partnerships. So think of your mind as a baby. Are you going to feed your baby soda? Are you going to feed baby some greasy fast food? No. Well, the equivalent of feeding this toxic food to your mind is watching programs, television programs, TV series, playing video games, watching news, reading some books or listening to music or hanging out with people who bring in a lot of negativity in your life and some potentially toxic behaviors and emotions with it. So let me give you some examples here. Are you being fed, or are you feeding yourself a lot of stories that talk about violence, cheating, jealousy, separation, hardship, betrayal, codependency, trauma, painful relationships? Is there a lot of screaming? Is there a lot of drama? Is there a lot of shooting and being afraid for one's life and those material that you ingest on a regular basis? Is there a lot of blaming, a lot of complaining? Is there a lot of swear words? Is there a lot of, let's talk about music, for example, that talks about breakup and divorce and separation, being alone, never finding the right one, or all the things that he or she did wrong. And the list goes on and on. I know that in my personal life, I've had to create some filters in place into my Facebook friends and block out some comments that would come up repetitively, some pretty strong negative stories, words, that I realized were making me feel disempowered and upset. And frankly, I don't need more toxicity in my life. I can pick and choose, you know. If there is this particular TV channel that gives the news in this light, and it's all about all the horrible things that happen in the world and how people are terrible and how it's all about destruction and there is no hope, well, let me find if there is a source of information that tell me about the hope, tell me about the helpers, tell me about the progress, tell me about the actions that can be done to meet some of the challenges in people's lives or in the world in general. So think about all of these good information, and you might need to give up one toxic source of information. It could be a TV series. Sorry, they're very addictive. They're wonderfully crafted in a way that you really want to watch the next one. But if they make you feel bad, scared or unworthy or very, they create a lot of inner turmoil, there is no need for adding more into your life. Life is already complex enough as it is. And last but not least, it could be a relationship in your life that is distressful to you. It could be a friendship. Obviously, it could be with your partner. It could be some people in your family. And ask yourself whether there are some people you need to let go of in your life. And that's a very deep question that cannot be answered with one video. Or if you can create some boundaries and limits. Maybe it's the amount of time you spend with them. Maybe it's how often you hear from each other. Maybe it's about you spending more time with the people who raise you up, the people that are truly there for you, supportive. They are not spending so much time on the negativity, on the drama, on the self-centeredness, but they can rejoice with you and encourage you and inspire you, and they can be there for you at times when you need it the most. Having a good, healthy circle of friends or connections. It could be a mentor. It could be a teacher of some kind. A good influence will go a long way in your life. So somebody you can trust, and just let go of the toxic people in your life. So there you go. Your assignment for this week is, what is the one source of information that I decide to let go of? And what are some people that deplete my energy that I need to see or hear less of, or even completely remove from my life? And this is it for the 7 dangers that create a lot of disconnection in relationships. I look forward to seeing you on the next video to actually tell you about what creates connection in communication. And I have some great tips for you. See you soon.